Hello everyone and welcome back to another explained video. Today it's going to be a tutorial again in the Cessna 152. Today we will be doing a soft field tutorial, and the reason that soft field procedures are important is exactly for airplanes just like this Cessna 152. There are two types of landing gear configuration on general aviation airplanes, being conventional or tricycle, where there is one nose wheel and two main wheels, and it's called a tricycle because it's set up like a tricycle. Or taildragger airplanes, where there are two main wheels in the front and then one wheel on the tail, hence tail wheel, on the back, and then the nose is pointed up into the sky. And it can also be referred to as a taildragger. But taildraggers, the weight is farther back and the prop is not at risk of striking the ground. However, on tricycle gears like this Cessna 152, if too much weight gets on the nose wheel, the nose can dive, and then as you can see, the prop is pretty low hanging, and you can get what's called a prop strike, and the prop will strike the ground, which is very bad for both the prop and the engine that it is connected to. So let's hop in to the airplane, and I'll show you guys how to do a full takeoff and landing, and we'll do a pattern while we're at it. Let's get into it. Alright, so here we are in the cockpit of the Cessna 152. I've already done a startup tutorial and full flight tutorial that will be linked in the top right hand corner of the video. So I'll just run through the real quick. Startup procedures: the fuel is already on. We'll go and flip on our master switch, go and correct the throttle, and start her up. Get our headset on here. We'll go ahead and recycle the G units, and that's when this shows G units, that's how many times the force of gravity you're pulling. So, for example, if you go on a roller coaster and you go upside down and then you feel like you're floating on your seat, that means that you are at 0 G, because there is no gravity force on your body. So like astronauts floating in space are at 0 G. So the engine is already started. We're at an uncontrolled airport right here. As you can see, when I say soft field, that means any combination of grass, dirt, gravel. Sometimes if it's hard packed gravel, that can actually be pretty hard even though it's gravel, and also sand is also considered a soft field material. So we'll go ahead and release our parking brake. We'll do our patterns landing to the north today. So we'll go ahead and taxi out. And this airport does not have a taxiway, so you have to do what's called backtracking. So we are backtracking to the south, and then we'll turn around and take off to the north. This specific airport is 02 Whiskey Alpha 02 WA. It is Collie airfield, about 10 miles to the south east of Seattle-Tacoma SeaTac International. So, as you can see here, I have my yoke pulled all the way back into my lap, and that's because when you pull back on the yoke, that puts our elevators all the way in the fully up position, which helps relieve some of that pressure on the nose wheel, which helps prevent the nose wheel from digging in, and as I said, prop strike. And also another characteristic of soft field operations is that the airplane requires a lot more power to get rolling. So you can see I'm putting in almost 2200 RPM on the throttle just to get the airplane rolling, and the rolling resistance is a lot higher. So I'm going to use flaps 10 for departure, which helps increase my airspeed, or it helps the wing be able to lift off faster, and it helps me just be able to fly in a shorter distance. So again, keeping that yoke all the way back in my lap, I'll go ahead and apply full power here. And there we go. As you can see, the nose rotated up immediately because we're pretty light here. So I'm just trying to keep the edge of the airplane right on the horizon line, and we're rotating. So now we're going to be rotating, we're going to be flying in what's called ground effect. And we have good airspeed, we'll go ahead and pull back and climb. So what ground effect is when you're descending into landing, or when you're climbing out, it's basically air getting trapped from the bottom of the wing and the ground. So it's like if you're trying to compress a soda bottle, for example. It starts out easy, but then it gets more and more firm as the air starts to get more and more compressed. So that's what ground effect is. It's when air gets trapped between the airplane and the ground, and thus the airplane wants to continue flying and it's harder to descend. So we've got plenty of altitude. We'll go ahead and start our left crosswind here. Again, we're making just a really quick, just short pattern. We can go and look out our left wing, and there's the airport. And again, we're keeping a nice and tight pattern. There's no need to go out very far. And now we're southbound on downwind. Very simple airplane. The landing gear is fixed, which means I don't have to retract it. It's a very simple airplane. The before landing checklist is very short. So we're just coming up on midfield right here. As you can see, that's just over the strut on our left wing is midfield, excuse me. Alright, and now we are abeam the numbers, and again, as I explained in my full flight tutorial video, the numbers are generally the start of the runway. So I'll go ahead and bring my power out and bring in 1 notch of flaps and start a channel descent. Once I'm on about a 45-degree angle from the numbers, I'll start my base turn. I'll go 2 notches of flaps and roll out on base. And now I'm using my sight picture for what I'm used to this airport and this airplane in specific to judge my height. I'm a little bit high. I've got full flaps in. I'll go and start my final turn. And given the trees on final here, you kind of have to make a what's called a dogleg approach, where you start about 10 or 15 degrees off angle, and then you straighten it out to final. So our flaps are full, our gear is down, we are ready to land. Beautiful. And we're gonna go ahead and hold that yoke back into our lap to keep all the weight off of that nose wheel. Alright, and we'll go ahead and get turned around here. Again, holding that yoke to keep all the pressure off the nose wheel that we can to prevent the prop from striking the ground. So I'll go ahead and clear the runway right here, and I think I will go ahead and load in a Taildragger, as I was talking about earlier, and show you guys the difference between this Tricycle gear and a Taildragger. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, and here we are in a Taildragger aircraft. This is the default Stinson L-5, and as we can see here, this is very different from the Cessna 172, or correction, Cessna 152 that we were flying before. This is a Taildragger. So, the nose wheel that was once on the front has now shrunk and moved to the back into a tail wheel. And then our main gear has just shifted forward, and as we can see, we are now angled up. So this makes it a lot easier because now the prop is not at risk for prop strike. However, flying a Taildragger is much more complex, and it's very different than flying a nose dragger or tricycle gear. So the next video coming up will be a tutorial on how to fly a Taildragger, but we'll go ahead and hop in to the cockpit anyway. I'll go ahead and just demonstrate real quick for you guys how to do a soft field takeoff and landing as well in this Stinson L-5. So we'll go ahead and just crack the throttle a little bit here, and the magnetos are already on, so we'll go ahead and just engage the starter. There we go. Alright. So just go and apply a little bit of power to get rolling here. And this airplane is a lot lighter than the Cessna 152, so we need a lot less runway here. And as you can see, opposed to the Cessna 152, there's a lot less forward visibility in this Taildragger, so that's also another difference between the 152 or any other tricycle gear airplane for that matter and Taildraggers, that you have a lot less forward visibility in Taildraggers. So I'll go ahead and apply full power here, and let's get going. And already you can see the L5 gets off a lot quicker. I'll go and turn my volume down a little bit here. So as you can see, the climb rate is a lot better in this, and the airplane rotated a lot quicker, and that's mainly just due to the fact that this airplane is a lot lighter, and it has about roughly the same engine. The 152 has a little bit more powerful of an engine, but this airplane is just a whole lot lighter. So we'll go ahead and turn our crosswind. And also another difference you may have noticed is that there's only one seat in the front here, opposed to the side-by-side configuration in the 152. So you might say, okay, well, where's the passenger going to sit? The passenger sits behind you. This is what's called a tandem configuration, where it's one in front of the other, whereas the 152 is side-by-side, where your shoulders are touching each other, and but this airplane is tandem, so it's one in front of the other. And just to make this more interesting, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a lot less runway to work with here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn a little bit earlier. As you can see, we're doing roughly the same speed, maybe about 5 or 10 knots slower than the 152 on downwind. We'll go and turn base a lot tighter here. Again, because it just needs a lot less runway to fly. Or, excuse me, runway to land. Again, just mainly because of weight. So as you can see, we're doing nearly 50 miles an hour here on base. And coming over the trees. Go ahead and start our turn in here. Alright, we'll go ahead and roll out. Oop, there's a little bit too much. Actually, no, we're just going to go around on that one. So, as you can see, the airplane kind of started to fight me a little bit, and I just decided, okay, it's going to be safer and better for us just to go around. And, you know, it's never bad to go around, because now I get a fresh new start at trying this landing again, opposed to ending up upside down in a ditch. So again, I don't want or need to go out as far as I did in the 152. So I'm just keeping this pattern a lot tighter. And the best part is, if you had a engine failure right now, you're easily within gliding distance of the airport. And again, like I said, the next video coming out will be a tutorial on how to fly a Taildragger. I'll probably be using this Stinson L-5 in that, so leave me a comment if you're excited for that video coming up. We'll go and turn base now. Again, I'm letting the nose fall a lot more aggressively in this airplane because I know it can get stopped a lot. Go ahead and turn base now, keeping it, like I said, a lot tighter, a lot more of an aggressive pattern. Go and get lined up here, carrying a lot of extra speed because that was a pretty steep approach. You can see the tail wheel is up and I'm at a level altitude. That's because my airspeed is high enough to where I have enough airflow on the tail, and there we go, you can see it dropped. I had enough airspeed as soon as I touched down to keep my tail up, and that's what's called a wheel landing, because I landed on the front two main wheels, whereas a 3-point landing would be landing at a higher nose altitude, or a nose attitude, excuse me. The nose is higher and you land on the main wheels as well as the tail wheel in a 3-point attitude. So I'll just go ahead and taxi back to the hangar real quick. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about, how taildraggers are more difficult to taxi, but you can also look out to the left as you make a right-hand turn to see, and you can do the opposite when you're going out to the right hand. But as you can see, we're back at the hangar we started at here, so we'll go and give it a little kick of the brake and rudder to get it to pivot around, just like that. We'll go and pull the mixture. Alright, and that is a comparison between Taildragger and Tricycle gear and how you do soft field operations. Again, next video coming up will be a tutorial on how to fly a Taildragger, specifically in this L-5 Stinson. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Share with your friends if you like the content. Please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think and what you would like to see included in the Taildragger tutorial on the next video. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.